Glad to have Alyssa Orange with us here on a Tuesday afternoon. Of course, sports director at Pig Trail Nation and a Tuesday contributor to Halftime. You can put that on your business card right there for you, Alyssa. How about that? You got room on your business card for Halftime contributor?
Man, I honestly couldn't tell you the last time I had a business card. but if I did, I would put it on there. It's an honor to be with you guys every week.
Yes, it is. So what do you think about your Dodgers over the first two games of this NLCS? The bullpen game worked the first time around against the Padres. Yeah. Did not work so much last night against the Mets.
It didn't. And here's the deal. And they even had opportunities to try to tie that game up or even take the lead late in that game. And so after shutting out the Padres twice and the Mets in this first game, I just felt like it was coming. You know what I mean? It's baseball. So, like, they're due. Something is going to happen. This isn't sustainable, right? So I kind of had that feeling. However, now you've got to go to New York and play 3 games, and that's a little nerve-wracking as well. But I was not surprised. I was not overly disappointed because I felt like it was coming. So get it out of the way now, move on, keep it going.
Alyssa,
trying to be optimistic.
Another New York team in a different sports. The New York Jets are making a lot of moves, firing their head coach. Couldn't get it done yesterday against the Bills. Apparently, they just signed Devontae Adams, who's an absolute beast if he's healthy. I know he's getting up there a little bit in age, but I mean he becomes their best receiver on that team. Do you think that's enough? Do the Jets make the playoffs this year?
Ooh, well, it's pretty crazy to watch the Jets kind of just basically throw everything in the kitchen sink at the season and just see what sticks, right? But they've made bold moves and they're continuing to do so. And I have to tip my cap to the boldness that their front office has at the moment. But I'm a Dolphins fan, so the Jets not making the playoffs would be absolutely fantastic. I'm never going to root for that to happen. But they're trying really, really hard. So it's kind of fun to watch from afar to just see them. They're either self-imploding and we all get to sit back and watch, or they're geniuses and we all get to sit back and watch. We just got to figure out which one it is by the end of the season.
So you're like me. I enjoy when the Steelers are doing well, but I might enjoy when the Browns are just melting down the way that they are. And did you see Deshaun Watson has had like the worst start for the first 5 games of the season of any quarterback that has started in the last 4 or I think 5 seasons, which is just kind of mind-blowing about that.
Yeah, and here's the deal, Phil. Just go get Jameis. Just
yeah, you got a good. I mean,
I don't understand. What are we doing? Just let Jameis play. Can we
Stefanski just sticks with Watson. He just does. That's right. You got a fairly accomplished backup back there who's thrown for over 4,000 yards.
I know. At this point, I'm over here like, hey, Miami, if the Browns aren't going to do anything with him, go get Jameis. What are we doing?
Well, it also sounds like, at least McDaniel said yesterday that he expects Tua's going to play again this year. I don't know when it'll happen. They said that maybe he'd be available maybe by the end of the month. But, you hear, Tua's going to play again this year, and you're just like, man, I don't know if he'd play again at all throughout if he was done for his career.
Yeah, hold my breath a little bit. I tell you what, Phil, I'm not going to lie. The fact that Arkansas, Florida State, and Miami all had bye weeks this past week was very therapeutic for me. So it was really, really, really good for me to be like, oh, baseball. And so, yeah, when I think about Tua playing again, you just kind of hold your breath. And I am not an expert on anything. I can't be that selfish fan that wants to see him back on the football field because I don't know what that means for his health. And I just don't want him to make a mistake and ruin something or any kind of future that he might have. And it's scary because really nobody knows. And he's got a lot of educated people in his corner, and I understand that. But, yeah, I've got a lot of mixed emotions about it.
Hey, Alyssa, we got a big one coming up. I don't know how much of this LSU Ole Miss game you watched, but I think Phil and I, we kind of watched just about all of it. But did you learn anything? What scared? I mean, LSU has talent. What kind of jumped out off the screen to you about this LSU team?
Yeah, I got to watch it in pieces, to be honest with you guys, and I'm going to have to give a little bit of a shout-out to Courtney Mims. So she got engaged on Saturday.
Yeah, I saw that.
And my job was to tape it. And so they were running a little behind at the square, and so I was just nervous, Nellie. And I was like, I'm going into Cheers, and I'm just going to have a drink to calm my nerves a little bit and watch. And I watched some of that football game, and then I got to watch it at the celebration afterwards. But I think the biggest thing that's been interesting is LSU has had a lot of injuries early, and they've still been able to sustain some success and then continue to figure out who they are. I was really impressed with that final drive there with LSU and how they were able to piece that together and put that together. And then, I'm obviously a Jason Taylor fan, and I think Mason Taylor is a great asset for them at tight end. He's just big. He reminds me a lot of Hunter Henry. He's got that build, which I think he's going to be a problem for Arkansas because they haven't really gone against a team that's got a big tight end like Mason Taylor is. And so I'm very curious to see how they game plan with that on top of also, you've got Nussmeier, who is a veteran in this league when you really look at it and look at all the other quarterbacks that they've played. I think LSU is continuing to play better, and I hate to say that because you thought at the beginning of the year, Harold Perkins is beat up, and they lost that running back after that first game, and maybe LSU has had too many blows that they're just not going to have success, and that's the opposite of what's happening. And so we'll see how it goes on Saturday.
A thing I'm really excited to watch for this game, and you'll start to notice it immediately once LSU has their first drive, is what has Travis Williams cooked up here. That was so interesting to see him just change an alignment that I don't know if I'd seen Arkansas use for a full game before, whether he's been the DC or anybody else. And, man, it worked against Tennessee. It really did. Now, you're facing a completely different style offense, but you heard what Sam Pittman said yesterday about, Williams is more comfortable in his role as the second-year defensive coordinator, more confident. I think he's got a real sense of the kind of players he's got around him and what it is that they can do. They've all bought in. I don't know what it is he's going to plan, but I can't wait to see what he's got because I think the man's kind of a brilliant coach.
Yeah, I think he's really shown exactly what kind of defensive coordinator he can be this season so far. And I think now it's okay, how do you continue to be creative? Because you were able to have a great game plan to slow down Ollie Gordon. And of course, Oklahoma State didn't equal a win, but you accomplished really what you wanted to do defensively. Same thing with Auburn and shutting down Auburn. And then you look at what you did against Tennessee and making those changes. But now teams have tape, right? So how does he continue to be creative and change things up and not get predictable and show his hand too much? And what I really loved, you mentioned what Sam Pittman said, but, Sam, sometimes when you come into a place, you're a little nervous to be who you are or your defense full on. And now I think in year two, Travis Williams says, okay, now I really know, like you mentioned, I know who I have. I know what my personnel means. And now I'm ready to be this offensive coordinator that you hired me to be a season ago. And so that's what we're seeing right now. And I'm telling you what, it has been so fun to watch this defense continue to be impressed with how they play, not only in the secondary, but I was really nervous about this defensive line the first couple of weeks where it just felt like maybe they weren't clicking the way that we thought they were supposed to this season. And I feel like I got proven wrong, which I'm 100% okay with after this Tennessee game, that, okay, maybe this defensive line is finally starting to get it together and able to turn a page. And so if they can get all of that working, man, it's going to be fun. And then you've got a really big task on what you do with Travis Williams at the end of the season to make sure that he doesn't leave Arkansas.
Hey, Alyssa, there's some big ones in the SEC this week. I want to kind of get your thoughts on Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, Texas. Which one of those? Who do you got winning those games? And then who is the second best team in the SEC right now? Is it Georgia? Is it Texas A&M? Is it LSU?
Yeah, so I really think, and we were talking about this in the office, and not saying that Tennessee is bad, but maybe Tennessee isn't who everyone thought that they were at the beginning of the year. And so I'm really curious to see. I mean, they beat Florida, but in overtime. And so it's like, how do they react and bounce back from the last two games, which one was a loss and one was a skin-of-your-teeth win over a Florida team at home. And now you've got Alabama, who's kind of the same thing, where they're barely skating by as well. I'm really curious about how that game plays out, and I think Alabama wins that game. Man, Texas, I think, is one of the most complete teams right now, and I think Texas beats Georgia. And then to answer your question, it's really difficult because when you look at what Georgia has left on their schedule, it's a pretty easy road to Atlanta. I think Texas goes to Atlanta. That other team could be A&M. You look at what A&M has left on their schedule, too, and I think that they've got an opportunity to go. I think LSU, their road's a little tougher. I think Ole Miss is out of it. They've got 2 losses now, and maybe Alabama wins out the rest of the way. But I'm looking at Georgia and Texas A&M to match up against Texas in Atlanta for the SEC championship. And now that we don't have divisions, what's going to be pretty crazy if that happens, guys, is that Texas and Texas A&M play each other that final game of the regular season, and then they turn around and possibly play in Atlanta. That'd be pretty wild.
I mean, there's other leagues where that could happen. I don't know a bit about it happening this year. In terms of, like, the Big Ten, you could see Ohio State and Michigan playing back-to-back weeks. I think Army and Navy are going to in the American Conference. They don't play each other. They're in the same conference. Their annual traditional matchup is not a conference game. They probably are going to be undefeated in that league going into the conference championship. They'll play each other two weeks in a row. I mean, we won't know what to do with that. It'll be, I mean, honestly, it's a good thing for college football. More Army-Navy games.
It is. It really is. And man, it's been so fun this football season. I think a lot of us thought that, you know, there was only going to be a handful of teams and then everybody else. But that is not the case. And it has been one of the most exciting college football seasons in a long time, in my opinion, from just watching the whole entire landscape, all of the realignment, what's going on. It has been, I mean, you had Oregon go down and beat Ohio State in Oregon last week. I mean, how exciting was that game? It's been really, really fun this year.
It kind of, to me, it's like mirrored what the chaos of the offseason felt like, where you could barely keep up with the transactions and who's coming and who's going and all of that. That's what Saturdays feel like right now is, you know, all these amazing finishes. It's the thing. It's like, you know, I don't usually get to do this, but on Saturday, I was like flipping between 5 different games because they were all really good and they all came down to the very end. And it's like, hey, more of this, much more of this, please.
Right. Yes, exactly. And so it's nice when we're able to have a break and watch some really good football and not feel like, oh, here we go again. The top 5 teams are just going to win in blowouts. What else is going on Saturday? So I've enjoyed it.
Hey, last thing. I was going to bring it up later. Today's the anniversary of Gibson's home run off of Eckersley in the 88 World Series. Maybe the most surprising World Series championship of my lifetime. Now, that was a good Dodgers team, but you look at the players that were on the A's then, and they were at the apex of their powers. That was a great A's team. But the Gibson home run, I think that's my favorite home run that I've been alive for. The fact that was his only at-bat of that series. He was hurt. I'm not a Dodgers fan, but how can you not love that Dodgers team?
I know. It was fun, and I tell you, I don't know if I've ever told you guys this, but I grew up with a 6-foot cutout of Dan Marino in my house beside a framed picture of Kurt Gibson with his arm up. So, like, I didn't have options when I was growing up about what teams that I was rooting for, nor did I have any option of hearing about that over and over and over again. And I get goosebumps, and I didn't live it like you did. So it's pretty cool and really, really special. And it'd be really special if the Dodgers could win another World Series, because I'm just really over the COVID World Series comments. We got to get past that. So
yeah, I understand what you mean. Yeah, I get what you mean there too. I think people feel the same way about the Lakers title that year. Alyssa, we'll leave it there.
See, and if I liked the NBA super much, I'd be a Lakers fan too. This is brutal.
Alyssa, thanks for your time. Always appreciate you.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you next week.
You got it. Alyssa Orange, Pig Trail Nation.
BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.